call me Crazy Joe. Well, now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now this time we will take a look at Beast Boy. Now he is a recently released figure. I did find this at Walmart alongside the Vampire Joker. So as we know, they are hitting Walmarts now. Go out there, hunt, because if you want to find these, that's what I do. Every time I get a chance during lunch or on the way home, I usually pass the several Walmarts that are around my area, and you know that's how I find these gold labels. You gotta put in the work, you gotta pound the streets to find these figures. Now of course this guy is gonna be in the Teen Titans sort of wave. Once you collect the Teen Titans and build that big Beast Boy collect to build fig, then you can add this one as well and have them in your setup for Teen Titans. Now he does look pretty green in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also comes with his data file card. On the front you do have an image from the comics, the representation of Teen Titans. What's his name? I think Garfield Logan. On the back you do have some information. Pretty cool backstory on him. He does have a long history in the comics and also in a lot of animated series. I pretty much did like his character in the Teen Titans. He was pretty funny. So I would actually be interested to get that version of Beast Boy. But you know me, I'm a completist, and this guy's going to work pretty good up there on the shelf with the rest of the Teen Titans wave. But cool, we'll add that to the collection. Now he surprisingly did come with an accessory, and that is this kind of green hawk. Now I know when he transforms in the comics into different animals, they're always green because that is his skin color. I think they experimented on him or something like that. Not necessarily sure, but he can transform into different animals, snakes, rats, rhinos, stuff like that. So pretty cool. We'll add this to the collection. Now McFarlane did kind of drop the ball here. I mean, it is a nicely sculpted eagle, hawk, you know, but the thing is that they did not articulate the wings. So that's kind of a downer, but you know, a $20 figure, it is what it is. We'll go ahead and add this to our accessories. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at them. Now, first impressions, not too sure of the different comic versions of Beast Boy, but for me, this is fine. You have to understand that a lot of consumers that just buy figures, when they're perusing the toy aisle, they don't necessarily look at scale as much as, you know, collectors do. So when they see a figure, they just see if it looks cool or if it attracts their kid or whatever, and that's usually when they'll buy it. So this is kind of like a really obscure character for your average, you know, buyer. I'm not saying for us as collectors, we all know who Beast Boy is. But we have to remember that this is a mass market line. So they're trying to make as many sales as they can, you know, throughout all the Walmarts in the world. And that is a lot of Walmarts. But all in all, pretty nice representation of Beast Boy. He has that two-tone costume. Now, this is, you know, right away, this is a reused buck from the teen body that they're using, which was from John Kent. Wallace West used this buck. So it's not a big deal, but I mean, it is what it is. When you reuse a buck, you have to use the parts that are already on it and paint things in that you wouldn't normally paint, you know, when you do a complete new sculpt. So pretty awesome. Let's take a look at the head sculpt. Now I gotta be honest, when I saw the images online, wasn't a big fan of the head sculpt. But now that I do have them here in hand, it actually is surprisingly good. They got like that youthful kind of, like a little punk version of Beast Boy. Now they did kind of slack on the ears. They should be a little bit more pointy, but they do have a little bit of point. I'm not gonna say it doesn't. They're not perfectly round, but I could have used like a little sharper edge there at the ears. But besides that, the hair is really nicely sculpted, and like I said, the youthful teen face is there. Like a really precocious, looking head sculpt. So I'm actually really happy with that. Take a look at the articulation. Looks down really well. He also can look up really far, which is awesome. No need to mod this head. He has a lot of cool range. You got right to left, and you can tilt his head for some attitude. All in all, real good. Now, once again, the costume is just a standard two-tone costume representing like the comic version of Beast Boy. But I'm pretty sure he does wear different costumes in different versions. Let's take a look at the waist articulation. You do have side to side. You got that full tilt-a-whirl at the waist, giving you a lot of range. You got a lower waist swivel, upper chest swivel, so you can twist them, get them in some action poses. Really good job of lining up the suit with the different, sections that they have with the abs and the chest. Doesn't break up the lines too much. It does a little, but it does have a flow to it, which is pretty nice. Now let's take a look at the crunch. Surprisingly, he has a little bit of crunch, not too much, but I think you're gonna get that with this reused buck. But it is, you could see it actually crunch down a little, and of course he could lean back like most McFarlane figures. Taking a look at the shoulders, he does have that socket bushing joint with a lot of movement in there. Now it's not necessarily the range of motion, but it does cover in that gap that you would see between the outer shoulder and the inner shoulder. You do get up and down, front to back, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, straighten them out. Now, one thing I didn't like is the bushing that they use in here. You can actually paint it to get like a complete matchup when you move the arm. So when you were to raise the arm, you could actually paint this red and you would get that two-tone feeling. I have actually done this before with the Green Lanterns, so I may end up doing that to this one. But when you move down, you got that same two-tone costume. Now, one thing they did do really nice is you have that outside pin painted gray, and then the pins on the inside actually match the red from the underneath part of the costume. So that's really appreciated. Sculpted wrist joint going into the hand. Nice silhouette that it cuts. And you do got that four-way articulation at the wrist. On the other side, you do have the same thing, but it does go down into a different kind of gesturing hand. Easily goes into a T-pose. Not much higher than that, but you can move his arms above his head. Nice range. Let's go down to the thighs. He does have pretty good thigh swivel, which means that you can move his boot left to right without having an unsightly thigh cut there. He does have cool kicking motion. He can kick up pretty high, and he can also kick back pretty high. Now, don't be afraid to push the legs when they hit the rubber, because that is what they're designed for, to give you more range. And when you put the legs back, the trunks do go back to their original shape. Cock out his knee. He has that sweet McFarlane hip swivel. Double jointed knees. Straighten them out, up and down at the ankle. left to right, right to left, rocker, and toe articulation. Now before we go, let's look at the whole lower body. One of the downsides, of course, is this is a reused buck, so you do have some sculpt work here that cannot be removed. So if they were gonna make like a universal buck, I think they should have went more for like a completely smooth sculpt. That way in the future, if they wanted to add like a design or something, they could have just had an add-on sculpt instead of having previously, sculpt work that you can't remove anymore. But it is what it is. We do have a obscure Beast Boy figure. Taking a look at him from the bottom, no tread and no identifying marks. Moving up, pretty nice work on the paint. It is clean paint, and you do have that same outer pin with one color and the inner pin painted another color. And moving up to the back, nicely sculpted back work. And once again, you have some sculpt that is from a previous figure. You do have these cutouts for the shoulders where you can actually move them back to get more range, which is nice. So all in all, pretty cool Beast Boy figure. Now, as I'm not the biggest Beast Boy fan or anything like that, this guy's basically just gonna go up on the shelf. Probably won't move him around too much, but he does have his cool little accessory. Now let's take a look at the older Beast Boy figures that I do have. I do have the DC Universe Classics version, which is pretty tiny. I think that's like 4-inch scale. And then he also came with like a Hawkbird, but Mattel did articulate this, but you have to also think this is the same bird I think that they used for the Masters of the Universe. So this wasn't made like from the ground up just for this Beast Boy. This is basically just a repaint, but it is really nice, and it is basically about the same size as the McFarlane one. So if you have this one, you can actually use them if you'd like to with this newer figure. And then later on, Mattel did give us one more Beast Boy, but this one is more like mid transformation, where he has a little bit more fur. Probably a different version from the comics that this is representing. But I wasn't ever really a big fan of this one, even though I do have him in the collection. So he's cool. Pinless articulation, so that was always nice, but it is kind of limited articulation. And then his eyes are like real spaced out. They they kind of freak you out, but all in all, really nice figure. So there you go, guys. That's the Beast Boys I have in my collection. This guy's gonna look pretty cool up there with the rest of the Teen Titans. You guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.